So let's say you get a lot of bounces in your campaign and you've viewed this from your AdWords or your analytics data that the bounce rate's pretty high, and you've compared it to the average bounce rates for different kinds of sites that I've included as an external resource. So you've decided that, maybe it's a little too broad of a campaign. One of the things that you can kind of play around with is keyword match types. This is available in most pay-per-click advertising platforms such as Bing Ads or Google AdWords. Taking a look at Google AdWords, I'll show you an example webinar that I've marketed before. So there's three different kinds of match types, and the first type is broad match. So broad match would be something without quotation marks, so just the word. For example, if we wanted to add the keyword business ideas as a broad match, then we would just use this and then add it. And broad match means that when someone types into Google, so if we go to google.com, so when someone types into Google anything kind of similar to business ideas, then our advertisement will come up. So it could be something like any of these kinds of suggestions that Google thinks is similar. So it could be like business ideas for college students, or it could be even something as irrelevant as worst business ideas for college students. And it's a lot less likely that these kinds of ideas or search terms will really be relevant to our ad. And then the next kind of match type is phrase match, which is just quotation marks. And so that means we have to have the specific phrase in our search term, so it can't be like separated. So for example, back in broad match, it could have been business model generator, idea generator for business. As long as it has those two words in it, then it is okay to display our ad for it. So we would have our ad displayed for this search term, even if our ad is really about business ideas. And this is somewhat relevant, but perhaps it's, it can get stretched. So if we have a phrase match business ideas, then it has to include the phrase business ideas. So it could be like great business ideas or bad business ideas or anything similar. Then there's exact match, which is in brackets. And what exact match means is it can't be anything but those exact terms. So if we have an exact match of market research, then we have to see market research for our ad to display. And so some of these companies could have picked an exact match, but we wouldn't know. Anyhow, when you're designing your campaign, these three different options range in specificity. So if you have a broad match, then it's the least specific and most broad, and oftentimes the most irrelevant with the highest bounce rates. If you have a phrase match, it's in between, and if you have an exact match, it's oftentimes too specific to bring the amount of traffic for the right price. So oftentimes I veer for phrase match, which just gives us, pretty closely related ideas. Here's what happens in AdWords, and here's how you know if your match type is really working for you. So let's say we're trying to market a Udemy course, right? And we drive some traffic of around 200 clicks or 200 sessions. And so we'll take a look at the exact match search queries. So how we do that is we go to the left, scroll past audience, scroll to acquisition under AdWords, make sure you have them linked. And then if you're unsure how to do that, please post a discussion question. And then go to search queries under AdWords, and then it'll display all the exact search terms that individual customers or potential customers typed into Google for your ad to be displayed. Now, since I use broad matches for these keywords for the search term Udemy, my ads were displayed oftentimes with the most generic sounding keywords possible, which isn't necessarily the best thing, but also brings the cheapest traffic. So once again, there's this balance between expensive traffic and too expensive or being like too broad. To learn more about that, check out AdWords Math. But for now, we're looking at what we can do in analytics for our advertising account. And if you scroll down and keep going right to see what kind of terms are triggering your ad, and they start to look very relevant, like best small business ideas in Pakistan, or Excel Udemy. So these search terms are never going to, or almost never going to, really result in a purchase, because someone who's looking for this exact of a lecture for Excel is probably not looking for business training, for example, at the same time, because they probably already registered for this course and they already set some time aside for learning the stuff from this lecture. Regardless, that was only a penny, so it's not a big deal. And someone who's looking for the features comparison of lynda.com versus Udemy, they might see, well, like, nice ad, I might like to learn that course, but they wouldn't be just as likely to buy. So, keep scrolling through and ask yourself, does it make sense that my ad would display for these search terms? And if it doesn't, really consider changing the match type. See, these are like misspells, so it's okay for misspells, and that might help sometimes. But for example, I don't want to display for Jerry Bainfield on Udemy. He's a great instructor, but if someone's looking for his courses, they probably have a lot more customer loyalty with him and would be less likely to buy a course from me. So this is just one way to find out whether your match types are too specific or too broad. And keywords are one of the most important things for deciding whether your campaign is specific enough, or too specific, or too broad. So pay attention to AdWords search queries to determine the targeting. See you in the next lecture.